Today we're taking a proper look at Killing Floor 3, but before we get into it, I was sent a review code through Keymailer by Tripwire Interactive, so big thank you to them for that. But as always, this will be an honest take on how the game plays, what it gets right, and where it falls short. So without further ado, let's crack on. So Killing Floor 3 doesn't try to reinvent anything, and honestly, that works in its favour. It's familiar, fast-paced co-op shooter where you fend off waves of mutated enemies and build up to a boss fight at the end of each run. The shooting itself feels solid, weapons have a decent amount of kick, and they land with proper weight. Shotguns do decent damage, rifles are relatively snappy and precise, and even some of the melee weapons like the swords and knives are little more than just filler. They're usable and feel quite satisfying to swing. However, I have seen some other reviews saying the guns feel or sound a bit weak. And I get that sound is a very big part of how we perceive impact in shooters, but for me, I didn't really have that issue at all. Everything from the recoil to the audio felt punchy enough. Now I'm not saying the sound design is perfect, it's certainly not the most immersive experience or anything like that, but in the middle of a firefight, it worked. And the audio and screen shake gave enough feedback to really sell the action. And I never found myself thinking, that sounded off, or ooh, that felt a bit flat. But that being said, I am curious to see what you guys think, so if you have played Killing Floor 3 already, let me know in the comments section how the sound design landed for you. Did it feel right, or did it just miss the mark completely? But to be fair, with enough players mentioning this, I wouldn't be surprised if Tripwire tweaked the weapon audio down the line, but from my own experience, it wasn't really a deal breaker. Now the maps in Killing Floor 3 strike a decent balance, very much like they did in the previous Killing Floor games. They're large enough for you to move tactically and set up choke points, but never so big that you get lost or have to spend ages running between waves. Each session builds tension relatively steadily. You start small, ramp up through the tougher waves until you hit the boss. Very simple, but effective. Now bosses are randomly assigned, which should add variety, but in practice, I ran into the same boss multiple times in a row, and it kind of took the edge off the tension when you start to feel like you're beating the same old punching bag repeatedly. I actually lost to a boss earlier on, the Impaler, and a friend and I were really keen to a rematch, but it never came. We ended up having the same boss around 5 more times, and honestly it got a little bit tedious. It was frustrating that you can't just rematch or force the variety somehow. Let's say maybe after you've defeated so many of them, you then be able to choose that one to fight. Now the weapon upgrade system in Killing Floor 3 is fine. It's nothing overly deep, but it gives you a reason to experiment. You can craft attachments and tweak gears across mission, and there's enough flexibility to build a loadout that suits your style without it turning into a stat-chasing spreadsheet, for example. Classes, or perks as they're called here, are straightforward. Each one has its own strengths, gear and abilities. It's relatively well laid out, and the game pushes you to try out different ones through daily assignments and challenges, which is a good touch. I usually find myself picking one class and just staying with it, but here in Killing Floor 3, I did find myself switching roles. More than I expected, just to knock out objectives, and fair play, that kept things fresh. But the opposite of fresh, a downside. Enemy variety. Now it's not terrible, but you will start seeing the same handful of enemies pretty quickly. Didn't bother me too much for the first couple of hours or so, but if you're planning to play long sessions or grind this regularly, that lack of variation might start to drag. I noticed it within less than 8 hours gameplay. Now the game is built for co-op. You can play it solo, but it definitely loses a lot of the energy and fun from Killing Floor. Playing with a friend or two is where it absolutely works. Not just because it's easier, but because the game thrives on those hectic, last-second saves and that bit of chaos that comes from coordinating under pressure. There was a run where everything fell apart. We were fighting the boss, ammo was gone, health was gone, just the two of us swinging blades and desperately trying to heal. And that's when it clicked for me. This game creates those moments naturally, and it's proper good fun. But without a mate though, I don't think I would have stuck with it more than a couple of sessions. Now, performance during my time has been solid. I've been playing on maximum settings with DLSS on quality and frame generation set to auto. I'm running an RTX 5070 Ti on the OLED ultra wide, so 3440 by 1440p, mostly at around 110 to 120 FPS, some areas down to 90. It's mostly smooth, but not without its issues. I had a crash that completely ended the game. Couple of weird minimising moments where the game would just minimise for no reason. My gun turned invisible once, as you can see here, and a good couple of frame lag spike drops. Nothing that ruined the experience, but definitely noticeable, and even noticeable on the video, I should imagine. But for the rest of it, UI and matchmaking is pretty clean, easy to use. I never had a problem with trying to connect to a game or inviting a friend. It's quick and easy to get into, so no complaints from me here. But the final thought, do I recommend Killing Floor 3? Well, Killing Floor 3 is good. It's not groundbreaking, but it's bloody good fun. If you're looking for a co-op shooter to play with mates, then this is a great pick. Combat feels solid, progression has just enough going on to keep you invested, and the moment-to-moment gameplay delivers in short bursts. But it does have limits. Boss and enemy variety need work, it won't hold your attention forever, it's a sort of game you'll dip into and then come back later. I don't think you'll be grinding for weeks on end. So if you've got a mate or two and you fancy something fast, chaotic, occasionally a bit daft, worth a go, highly recommend. But if you're looking for something more deeper, more polished, maybe hang on for a couple of updates first. But ultimately, I do recommend it, I'm enjoying it, and I'll probably play for a good 20 to 30 hours. So I guess that's it. Thanks very much for watching the video. Big thanks to Tripwire and Keymailer for the code. Let me know if you want to see more gameplay, more survival missions, or maybe some challenges from Killing Floor 3. I'd be happy to oblige. But upon that note, let me know what else you want to see reviewed, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Ciao for now.